The story begins with the most feared gang in town, the bad guys. On this day, they're pulling off their biggest heist yet, robbing the city's main bank. The moment they drag out the heavy vault, alarms scream, and they race to their getaway car. Police sirens echo through the streets as cruisers close in, and the chase explodes into action. But Diane, the gang's tech genius, is already at work. With a few quick taps, she hacks into the traffic system, turning every red light green, clearing the roads so they can speed ahead. Meanwhile, Shark, the master of disguise, throws himself into the chaos, creating distractions to slow down the cops. And then we meet Piranha, the wild card of the crew, unpredictable and fierce. The gang races through the city until finally they crack open the stolen vault. But instead of keeping it, they roll it straight to police headquarters, just to taunt the chief, who's been after them for years. Furious, the chief herself joins the chase, but even she can't stop them. The bad guys slip away once again, disappearing into their secret hideout, a place no one has ever found. Inside, piles of gold and stolen treasures glimmer in the shadows, trophies from all their past heists. And in the middle of it all, the gang is busy throwing a birthday party for Snake. Though it's clear from his grumpy face, birthdays are the last thing he enjoys. And when Wolf sits down in front of the TV, every channel is talking about them and their latest heist. The news cuts to the city's governor, Diane, who appears on screen. She talks about the gang with a mix of pity and frustration, saying it's sad how desperate they are, causing chaos just so people will notice them. The gang bristles at her words, clearly offended. But Diane continues, announcing that the city will soon award the Golden Dolphin to the most outstanding citizen. Wolf doesn't like what he hears. Her words sting, and an idea begins to take shape in his mind. He gathers the gang and suggests stealing the Golden Dolphin as payback. But Snake immediately objects, warning them that anyone who has ever tried to steal that prize has ended up behind bars. Wolf knows Snake too well, though. He reminds him that the winner this year will be a hamster named Marmalade, the perfect bait. At the mention of a hamster, Snake finally gives in, and the gang sets a date for the heist. When the night of the ceremony arrives, they head to the event in disguise, so no one will recognize them. There, Wolf explains the plan. They'll need the police chief's key card to get past the first gate, and Diane's eye scan to get through the second. Wolf approaches Diane, pretending to be just another guest. They strike up a conversation, and she starts venting about the gang that robbed the bank. She calls them reckless and foolish, not realizing she's actually talking to their leader. Confident, she even tells Wolf she feels certain they'll be caught very soon. Her conviction rattles him, but he keeps his cool and takes a photo with her, knowing that picture will help him pull off the biggest theft of all. And after that, Wolf gathers the crew to put their plan into action. Each member heads to their assigned spot near the prize, while Webbs hacks into the security system. She tells them to move fast, and Wolf slicks through the crowd until he bumps into the police chief. She doesn't recognize him, and in that moment, he lifts her keycard for the first gate. As he moves through the hall, Wolf can't resist pocketing jewelry from the party guests, until he comes across an elderly lady on the stairs. When he tries to take her necklace, she stumbles, and Wolf instinctively catches her before she falls. Grateful The old woman thanks him, calling him kind and gentle. Her words light something inside him. And for the first time, Wolf feels proud of doing the right thing. Soon after, Wolf and Piranha head to the first gate. Together, they knock out the guards, then use a photo of Diane to fool the scanner and copy her eye print. With the system tricked, they slit through the second gate and finally reach the room where the golden dolphin is kept. Snake is already waiting, and the whole crew gets ready to take the prize. But suddenly, a high-tech defense system activates, something none of them had planned for. Even Webbs has never seen weapons like this, and she struggles to shut them down. At that exact moment, the ceremony begins, and the governor steps on stage, preparing to unveil the prize. Racing against time, Webbs pushes herself to the limit, typing furiously. And just seconds before the curtain rises, she succeeds. The weapons power down, and the gang manages to snatch the golden dolphin right under everyone's noses. But before they can get away, Wolf overhears Marmalade speaking about the power of doing good. His words strike something deep inside him. At that very moment, the police recognize Wolf and the rest of the gang. Chief Diane and her entire force surround them, and in seconds, the crew is caught and shoved into the back of a police van. Thinking fast, Wolf uses his wit to turn the situation around. He recalls what Marmalade said at the party about giving people a second chance. With quick words and clever charm, he convinces them that he and his crew deserve one last opportunity to change. Marmalade steps in, supporting Wolf's plea, and tells Diane they should let him run an experiment to transform the city's most feared criminals into good citizens. Diane reluctantly agrees, and Marmalade becomes their mentor until the next gala. On the ride back, the rest of the gang stares at Wolf in shock, confused by what just happened. But Wolf quickly reassures them, saying this is all part of the plan. They'll pretend to be good until the night of the next gala. Then, when everyone least expects it, they steal the golden dolphin and escape. The crew, impressed by his quick thinking, agrees to play along. Soon after, they move into Marmalade's grand mansion to begin their so-called training. His first lesson is about sharing, but Snake refuses to play along. He devours the ice cream all by himself. Trying a different approach, Marmalade then takes them outside to do something simple: rescue a kitten stuck in a tree. Yet once again, the gang does the opposite. Instead of helping, they terrify the poor creature. And then Marmalade asks them about the one skill they're truly good at, so he can give them a mission that fits. Without hesitation, the gang proudly admits they're best at scams and heists. So Marmalade decides to put that talent to use. He tells them they'll break into a company that's been experimenting on hamsters. Their job is to steal the animals and set them free. This way, they won't just be doing a heist. They'll also be saving lives and maybe fixing their image in the eyes of the public. The gang takes on the mission, sneaking into the company. Marmalade guides them toward the cages. Outside, he instructs the cameras to focus on the front door, ready to capture the gang's good deed. But when the crew bursts out, it looks like a disaster. Instead of saving the hamsters, the footage makes it seem like they've eaten them. By morning, the headlines spread across the city, and Diane is furious. She storms up to Marmalade, declaring the experiment is over and that the gang is going straight to prison. Thinking quickly, Wolf pulls her aside. With smooth words and genuine emotion, he convinces her to reconsider. Against her instincts, Diane gives them one more chance. Not long after, Wolf is seen rescuing a kitten stranded in a tree. His actions are real this time, different, softer, and it's clear he's starting to change. Suddenly, Marmalade steps out from where he's been hiding, filming the whole rescue. Smiling, he tells Wolf the video has captured everyone's hearts. Then, he leans in and says something that cuts deep. Wolf is becoming a good person, and maybe it's time he left his old friends behind. What Marmalade doesn't realize is that Snake has overheard everything. Later that night, when he and Wolf are alone, Snake confronts him. "Is all this still part of the plan?" he asks. Wolf pauses, then insists he's the mastermind, that no one is more committed to the plan than him. And if anything ever changed, his crew would be the first to know. And after a while, the night of the big event finally arrives. Sitting together in the car, the gang goes over their plan one last time. Snake will be the one to get the code that unlocks the prize box, which is strapped to the wrist of the police chief. Shark will carry the fake dolphin. Piranha is in charge of setting up the jammer to cut the power lines, so that Webbs can take control of the whole system. When it's time for the gang to step onto the stage and give a speech, Wolf will kill the lights. Snake will type in the code, swap the golden dolphin with Shark's fake one, and they'll walk out before anyone notices. To top it off, they'll leave their mark on the giant screen behind them. Everyone is impressed with Wolf's plan. But when they arrive at the gala, something unexpected happens. The crowd welcomes them warmly, cheering as if they were beloved heroes. The gang is surprised, even moved, by how much people seem to like them. Still, they head inside to start the job. Just as planned, Snake sneaks toward the code. But suddenly, the chief unknowingly steps on his tail and grabs him, mistaking him for the glass beside her. Snake freezes, caught off guard. Thinking fast, Piranha rushes onto the stage and starts singing to distract her. The rest of the gang joins in, putting on an improvised performance that pulls all eyes away from Snake. Together, they manage to keep the chief busy long enough for him to open the case and snatch the code. What surprises them most is how the audience reacts. Instead of suspicion, the crowd bursts into applause, excited and entertained. Donations pour in for the charity event, more than anyone expected. Meanwhile, Webbs successfully takes control of the entire power grid. And then, the moment of truth finally arrives. Marmalade steps onto the stage and introduces the gang to the audience. With a proud smile, he announces that tonight's gala has raised more donations than any charity event in the city's history. Hearing that, Wolf hesitates. At the very last second, he changes his mind. Instead of cutting the power, he hands over the real golden dolphin to Marmalade, going against the plan he made with his friends. But suddenly, the lights go out, and when they come back on, the city's prized meteor, the symbol of all that's good, is gone. The crowd gasps. All eyes turn to Wolf and his crew. People shout that they must have stolen it. At that exact moment, the gang's mark flashes across the giant screen. The evidence seems undeniable. The police inside the gala rush in and surround them. Wolf quickly slips a note to Diane, whispering that he'll fix everything. Meanwhile, Piranha tries to get the gang out, but his hook accidentally swings into Shark, knocking him out cold. Before they can recover, the police move in and arrest them all. Later, Marmalade visits them in the police van. As he speaks, Wolf suddenly recognizes his voice. It's the same voice as the old lady he had met earlier at the party. And in that moment, Wolf realizes the truth. Everything that happened tonight was Marmalade's plan from the very beginning. Wolf tells his friends that Marmalade only gave them this chance to set them up. While the world was watching them on stage, Marmalade himself was the one stealing the meteor. And then Marmalade shows his true face at last. He's not the kind, generous figure everyone believes. He's a villain. With a sly grin, he explains that he stole the meteor because it's a source of immense power. And with it, he'll carry out the greatest heist the world has ever seen. Furious, Wolf lunges at him, but Marmalade is faster. He opens the van door and shouts to the crowd outside, making it look like Wolf and his crew have never changed and never will. But Diane feels something isn't right. She doesn't buy Marmalade's story. Later, she finds Wolf's note, pointing her to the gang's secret hideout. When she goes there, she discovers all the gold and money they had stolen in the past. Meanwhile, the gang arrives at prison. Snake is furious with Wolf for ruining their big job and getting them locked up. He tells Wolf he even heard Marmalade warn him to stay away, but he never imagined Wolf would betray them during the mission. Wolf defends himself, insisting he didn't betray anyone, that he only wanted them to change for the better. But Snake doesn't believe him. The two start fighting. And then, out of nowhere, a masked figure appears outside the prison. The stranger knocks out the guards, locks them in a cell, and heads straight for Wolf and his crew. To everyone's shock, the masked figure is Diane. That's when the truth comes out. Diane is the legendary thief who once stole the golden dolphin, then disappeared for years. She frees them and explains she couldn't ignore her instincts. She knows the stolen meteor is actually a source of immense power. When they return to the city, Diane asks for their help to stop Marmalade. Wolf immediately agrees. But Snake cuts him off, saying the gang is finished and they'll never work together again. The others silently agree and walk away. At the same time, we see Marmalade activating his stolen machine. Its purpose becomes clear. It controls the minds of every hamster in the city. And Marmalade succeeds, raising an enormous army under his command. And so, we return to Wolf, who's talking with Diane, weighed down by the loss of his friends. That's when Diane checks her scanner and realizes something terrifying. The hamsters are all gathering in the city. In that moment, they understand the truth. Marmalade is controlling their minds, forcing them to steal the donation money. It's the biggest heist in history, worth $1 billion. Wolf and Diane know they can't let this happen. They decide to stop Marmalade and steal the meteor back. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang finally makes it to their hideout. But instead of finding safety, they're shocked. The place has been stripped bare. Everything they ever stole is gone. Snake loses his temper. But then Shark does something no one expects. He hands Snake his ice cream just to calm him down. For the first time, Shark chooses kindness, and the others are stunned. That's when Webb speaks up. She tells them Wolf was right. They can change. They don't have to stay villains forever. But Snake refuses to believe it. He insists he'll never be a good guy. Then he storms out, leaving the others behind. At the same time, Marmalade makes his move. With his machine fully powered, he takes control of every donation truck in the city and robs them all. Meanwhile, Wolf and Diane track him to his lair. When they sneak inside, Wolf spots the golden dolphin trophy. He reaches for it, but it's a trap. In an instant, Marmalade captures them both. The villain then reveals he knows the truth. Diane is the mysterious, masked thief from years ago. He takes from her a priceless jewel she once stole long ago. But the real blow comes when Wolf realizes who betrayed them. It was Snake, the one who tipped Marmalade off about their plan. Before leaving, Marmalade orders his assistant to finish the job and kill them. But just in time, the gang arrives and saves Wolf and Diane. Together, they set off to steal the meteor, and they actually pull it off. They escape quickly, but Marmalade still controls the hamsters. So the gang comes up with a plan. They start planting special devices on all the trucks. Using her skills, Webbs takes control of every single one, shuts them down, and sends the money back to where it was meant to go. After that, the gang decides to turn in the meteor to the police. But before they do, they choose to bring Snake back first, because they want him with them when it happens. But the moment they find him, Marmalade appears. He unleashes his army of hamsters and threatens them. If they don't return the meteor, Snake will die. Wolf makes a deal. Release Snake first, then they'll hand over the meteor. But Marmalade loses his temper. He throws Snake from the plane. Wolf doesn't hesitate. He sacrifices the meteor to save his friend, diving off the bridge with Snake in his arms. The chase ends in a fiery explosion that destroys Marmalade's machine. At last, he loses control of the hamsters. When the gang climbs back onto the bridge, they make their choice. This time, they won't run. They'll turn themselves in. But down below, reporters see Marmalade holding the meteor. They believe he's the hero who saved the city. Marmalade plays along, claiming he caught the gang and recovered the meteor himself. He takes it to his lab for safekeeping. That's when the truth is revealed. The meteor in his hands is fake. Snake had switched it from the start. He'd been working with Wolf all along. While pretending to join Marmalade, he tricked him and hid the real meteor. As Marmalade clutches the fake, it breaks apart, exposing the stolen jewel he had taken from Diane. At that moment, the police chief recognizes it. It's the famous gem that was stolen years ago. She realizes Marmalade is the real criminal and arrests him on the spot. Months later, when the gang finishes serving their time, Diane picks them up in her car. And at last, the bad guys turn the page to a brand new chapter. It all begins in Cairo, 5 years ago. Inside the grand palace of billionaire Sayed Suleiman, a new heist is about to unfold. Mr. Shark disguises himself as one of the guards and steals his access card. He signals to Webbs. Everything's under control. Then Webbs gives the order. Piranha dives into a huge aquarium in the center of the palace. Spinning so fast, he creates a massive air bubble. Next, it's Snake's turn. He slips in and cracks open a hole through the aquarium wall. At the same moment, Wolf, wearing his flight suit, descends from the sky, ready to land. Suddenly, all the security cameras go dark. Shark uses the stolen card to open the palace roof. Wolf drops straight through, lands in the aquarium, and then slides down the hole Snake made, right into the palace. Together, they storm into the hall, where Sayed Suleiman stands frozen in shock. He recognizes them instantly. "Stay away from me, you monsters!" he shouts. The gang just laughs. Wolf steps closer, and the billionaire panics, pressing a hidden button. A huge vault door swings open, filled with gold, statues, and even a luxury car gleaming under the lights. Sayed tries to stop them, but they ignore him. The gang jumps into the car, ready to escape. Before leaving, they hand him a small gift. He opens it and freezes. It's a bomb. Wolf hits the gas. The car bursts through the palace window, and just as they escape, boom! But instead of an explosion, colorful confetti fills the air. The car lands safely, hanging from a giant balloon, and they speed away. Within seconds, Egyptian police spot them, and the chase begins. Wild, fast, tearing through Cairo's streets. Wolf drives like a pro, dodging every trap until the cops finally corner them. Surrounded, no way out. But Webbs hacks into a crane just in time, lifting them over the Nile. The gang soars across to the other side and disappears into the night. And years later, everything's different. We jump to the present day. Wolf now drives an old, rusty car through the streets of Los Angeles, narrating how everything changed. After their Cairo heist, the gang met 2 new members, Diane and Marmalade. But they decided to quit crime for good and turn themselves in. When they got out of prison, they promised to start fresh. Now, Wolf walks into a bank, not to rob it this time, but to apply for a job. The rest of the gang is doing the same, each trying to find honest work. But no one will hire them because of their criminal past. Wolf begs the HR manager for a second chance. But when the man realizes Wolf robbed that same bank 3 times before, he just says, "Well, if something opens up, I'll call you." Wolf drives home, tired and broke. Bills pile up on his table. His friends are there, sharing how their job interviews went. All rejections. Still, Wolf keeps their spirits up, telling them not to give up hope. Then Shark mentions a new name, Phantom. He says, "The whole world's talking about him." They turn on the TV and see the news. Phantom hit 3 sites last night, stealing priceless artifacts. He's skilled, fast, and leaves no trace, except, this time, a gift box that explodes into colorful confetti. Wolf freezes. "That's our move," he says. "If the cops see that, they'll think it's us." Just then, Snake walks in, sipping juice, acting like nothing's wrong. He changes clothes, grabs his bag, and says, "Don't wait up, wrestling match tonight," then walks out. Later, we see Wolf training in the gym with Diane. She's sharp, focused, and dangerous. She tells him no one knows she's the Crimson Paw. Wolf nearly blurts it out, so she punches him hard, knocking him down. He smiles, impressed. There's clear chemistry between them, but reality hits hard. Diane is now the governor of California, and Wolf, a reformed criminal with a record. 2 worlds that can never truly meet. But just as the moment lingers, reality interrupts. Suddenly, Diane's secretary, Maureen, rushes in, reminding her about the Children's Hospital fundraiser in 20 minutes. Diane gets ready to leave, but before she goes, she turns to Wolf. She tells him softly, "Someday you'll get that job. People just need to trust you again." Moments later, we see the police captain, furious. Another robbery just happened, and the thief vanished without a trace. Maureen knocks, saying someone's waiting inside. The captain snaps, "I don't have time to meet anyone." But she freezes when she sees who it is. Wolf. He calmly says, "Let me help you catch Phantom. If I can bring him down, maybe people will finally trust me again." The captain frowns. We'd need a computer genius for that. Suddenly, Webb spins around in her chair. I'm already here, she says with a grin. Her fingers fly over the keyboard, screens flashing with data. Everyone's stunned by her skill. A few minutes later, the gang regroups, everyone except Snake. They call him, but his phone's off. They decide to start without him. After digging through files and clues, they learn that Phantium loves gold, rare artifacts, and something called mica japhanite. Later that night, they're back in Shark's beat-up call, trying to find a lead. That's when Webbs mentions a famous championship belt, the Guatemala belt, made entirely of mica japhanite. Shark suddenly remembers. That belt's the grand prize for tonight's wrestling tournament. Wolf's mind races. He starts connecting the dots. Could Snake be there? Could he be behind this? The team grows anxious. They don't want Snake to fall back into trouble or end up in jail again. Then the police captain calls them on video. She says, "We're closing in. Phantium will be at the wrestling arena tonight." The team panics. They drop the phone and rush out, racing to stop Snake before it's too late. That night, the wrestling tournament kicks off. Wolf and his crew arrive fast, hoping to warn Snake. But the bright lights, roaring crowd, and food stands distract them. For a moment, they forget why they're there, until Wolf snaps them back. Focus. We need to find Snake before it's too late. Just then, the police captain spots them. "Hey, stop right there!" she yells. They all freeze, especially Shark, who panics and accidentally knocks her out cold. The team drags her into a public restroom, locks the door, and leaves a note. Sorry about that. Then they split up to search the arena. Suddenly, Shark spots Snake in the crowd. They rush toward him, but before things get messy, Doom, Snake's old friend, appears out of nowhere and saves him. Moments later, the match begins. The crowd roars as the champion Jorge wins the title and receives the Guatemala belt. But before he can celebrate, a masked challenger steps into the ring. Wolf's eyes narrow. That's him. That's Phantium. The fight explodes. The new wrestler slams Jorge to the ground with brutal force. Wolf leaps into the ring, grabs a chair, and hits the masked fighter. But the moment he does, he realizes he might have made a huge mistake. The masked man turns on him, furious. Wolf steps back, terrified. Shark and Piranha jump in, trying to protect him. Chaos erupts. The entire arena turns into a wild brawl. Every fighter charges at the masked man, but he throws them off like they're toys. Finally, the gang works together and pins him down. Wolf grabs the mic. "This is it! He's Phantium!" he shouts. The crowd gasps. Then the mask comes off. It's Pigtail Petrova. She smirks. Too late. The belt's already gone. Everyone looks around, and she's right. The Guatemala belt has vanished. They realize she used the chaos as a distraction, wrapping the belt around Piranha to make it look like he was the thief. The crowd turns angry. "Phantium's one of them," someone yells. Suddenly, everyone's chasing the gang. At that moment, the police captain wakes up, spots Piranha running with the belt, and loses it. "Freeze!" she shouts, joining the chase. Sirens blare. Officers surround the arena. But just in time, Susie shows up in her hot dog truck, rams through the gates, and helps them escape. The police go after them in fury, but the gang speeds off into the night, barely getting away. Right after the chaos, we see Pigtail Petrova on the phone. She smiles coldly. "The plan worked," she says. And that's when we realize it was all a setup. Someone wanted the gang to fall right into this trap. Meanwhile, Diane appears at a press conference. Reporters crowd around her, asking about the gang, but she stays calm. The investigation is still ongoing, she says. No evidence yet. Then she ends the interview and walks away. Back at her office, her assistant Maureen warns, "You need to catch them, Diane. The public's losing trust." But their talk is cut short. On the other side of town, Wolf is calling from a payphone, his voice tense and desperate. "Diane, listen to me. This is a setup. I'm innocent. Someone's framing us. They're after a substance called micagavine." Diane listens carefully, then says, "Hide. Trust no one until I find the truth." She hangs up, takes a deep breath, and tells Maureen to cancel all her appointments. Then she opens a secret drawer, pulls out a black case, and leaves the building. As she disappears, her computer screen turns on by itself. A photo flashes, Professor Marmalade, and we realize he's the real thief the gang attacked before. Meanwhile, Wolf returns to the hideout, but before he can speak, Suzanne injects him. He drops, unconscious. Moments later, the gang wakes up, tied to chairs, inside an abandoned warehouse. And standing before them is Phantium. She removes her mask. "My name is Alhira Cat," she says with a grin. Then two others step out of the shadows, Pigtail Petrova and Susan. Snake stares at her, shocked. "Doom, why?" But she doesn't even look at him. He sighs softly. "I still love you, and I forgive you." Wolf cuts in, furious. "What do you want from us?" Alhira smiles. "I'm planning something big. You need work. I need a crew. Perfect deal, right?" Shark shakes his head. "We've changed. We don't do that anymore." But she just laughs. Then she plays a video on the screen. It shows Diane Foxington stealing the Crimson Paw. "If you don't help me," Alhira says coldly, "the whole world will see this." Wolf goes pale. He looks at the screen, then at his friends, and finally nods. "I'll do it," he says quietly, "to protect Diane." After that, Kat takes the gang to reveal their next job. But when she says the target, they're stunned. She wants to steal a rocket called Moon X. Wolf steps forward, calm but firm. "Give us the video of Diane first, as a sign of trust." Kat just smirks. "No deals," she says, and walks away. That night, Diane drives to a high-security prison by the sea. The guards are surprised to see her this late, but she ignores their questions and asks to visit a specific cell. When the door opens, the inmate inside looks up, and it's Professor Marmalade. We learn he ended up in prison because of Diane. Every time they worked together, she escaped and left him behind to take the fall. Diane keeps her tone cold. "I need to know about micagavine." Marmalade grins. "It's a rare element with unique properties, but I'll tell you more only if you play my little game." Diane sighs, then nods. "Fine." The next morning, Kat gathers the gang again. She gives each of them a bag, tools for cracking safes, disguises, and a portable computer for webs. Then Kat shows them a file on a man named Moon. She points at his wrist. "This watch he wears," she says, "controls everything about the rocket, the gates, the system, the launch." But then she adds, "He never takes it off." Finally, she hands Doom an invitation to Moon's wedding. That's where they'll have to steal the watch. Kat warns them, this event will be packed with guards, cameras, and one mistake could ruin everything. And then comes the big day. Shark blends in as the flower decorator, while Doom handles the desserts. That's when they realize Moon wears smart glasses that scan guests and decide who's worthy of a 60-second chat. While Moon greets people, Doom seizes her moment. She plants a hidden camera, and Kat watches everything live from her car. Meanwhile, Piranha distracts the guards so Snake can sneak in through the drain pipe. Inside, Snake cracks open a tough vault. It's the main power line for the cameras. He cuts it, and right away, the whole system goes down. That's when Webbs sends Griddle to fix the issue. She storms into the control room, pretends to be a technician, and secretly connects Webbs's laptop to the network. At the same time, Kat drives her car straight to the venue. She radios Wolf. "It's your turn." Wolf steps out, dressed so sharp that everyone stops to stare. In his hat, a hidden camera streams live to Kat. He enters the party, asks to meet Moon, and Webbs hacks Moon's glasses just in time. The system now shows Wolf as a billionaire energy tycoon. Impressed, Moon invites him for a private talk. Wolf smiles, shakes his hand, and reaches for the watch. But suddenly, everything falls apart. Mr. Slayman appears out of nowhere. Wolf freezes. He knows this man. Kat's mission collapses in seconds. Furious, Kat brushes inside to fix the mess. Slayman's starting to suspect Wolf. She hisses, "You just ruined everything." But Wolf snaps back. "That man knows me. He was about to blow my cover." And right then, Shark bursts in, carrying the bride, unconscious. Kat loses it completely. She threatens to expose Diane, but Wolf stops her, his voice calm and steady. "I'll handle it," he says. "I'll get the watch." Moments later, the ceremony begins. The bride walks toward Moon, but suddenly we realize it's Wolf under the veil. Shark's playing the officiant. Everything's going smooth until Mr. Sleeman shouts. He spots Wolf instantly. In a flash, Shark switches back the real bride, and Sleeman rips the veil off, staring in shock at the real woman beneath it. Moon's furious. He throws Sleeman out. Moments later, the crew celebrates in their van. Mission accomplished. Then we cut to prison. Diane's still there, bored, playing with marmalade. He casually mentions that MacGuffinite is magnetic. It attracts gold. When she walks away, he whispers, "You're the second one asking about it." That's when Diane realizes the other visitor was none other than Agent Kat. She traces her through Moon's stolen watch. Meanwhile, the gang's still celebrating until Wolf asks Kat for Diane's video. She distracts him with talk about the good old days, tempting him to return to crime. For a moment, Wolf almost gives in. He takes the video and leaves. But later, Wolf returns to the team, and we find out he recorded Kat's confession without her knowing. Everyone cheers. They plan to call the police. Then, the twist. Their car stalls. Kat had cut the power and was listening the whole time. She appears with Griddle and Doom beside her, smiling coldly. The team wakes up chained in the warehouse, gold cuffs hanging by a crane. Kat reveals her cruel plan. The same remote that controls the crane also controls Diane's leaked video. "If you drop," she says, "the video goes live. If you stay up there, same thing." She calls the police, accusing them of stealing the MacGuffinite, then walks away, leaving them dangling helplessly. Then, suddenly, Diane's video leaks. The whole world is watching, and Wolf freezes in shock. Sirens blare. Police surround them from every side. Meanwhile, Kat and her crew storm the Moon X base, ready to launch the rocket. But inside, Diane's already waiting. Kat realizes too late. Diane knows everything about Marmalade. A fierce fight erupts. Diane knocks out Doom and Griddle, but Cat is ruthless. They clash across the platform until Diane falls from the bridge. Yet somehow she pulls herself back up. Standing tall, she declares, "As governor, I order your arrest." Cat just smirks. "You're not governor anymore. Check your phone." Diane looks, and her smile fades. Thousands of comments flood the screen, accusing her of lies, betrayal, and theft. Her secret is out. Her career destroyed. Cat injects her with a tranquilizer. Diane collapses, but with her last strength, she crawls toward the rocket controls and slams her hand on the launch panel, locking Cat and her team inside before passing out. News spreads fast. The public is shocked. Marmalade is released from prison, and police issue a warrant for the bad guys. When the cops find them, they try to explain everything, but no one listens. Back at Moon X, Cat orders the rocket to launch. At the same time, the police start doubting the story and finally decide to hear the gang out. The team rejoices, hugging in relief. Meanwhile, in the control room, technicians panic. The rocket's launch countdown is at 3 minutes. One of them grabs the phone and calls Moon himself. Moments later, the police and the gang board a plane, racing to catch Cat. They jump mid-air, landing right on the rocket's hull. As they climb inside, the officer salutes them and flies back. Inside, the rocket's already breaking through the atmosphere. At mission control, Moon storms in, furious. How did this happen? But his team is speechless. The rocket is heading straight for the space station. Up there, Cat arrives and prepares to power up the MacGuffinite, a machine strong enough to pull all the world's gold into space. Meanwhile, Diane regains consciousness, and the gang, freezing inside the shuttle, realizes they forgot their suits. Then, Piranha drifts by, floating weightlessly. He laughs. "Relax, enjoy zero gravity." But time's running out. Below, Griddle activates the MacGuffinite, and gold from every corner of the Earth starts rising towards space. That's when Wolf comes up with a crazy plan. They suit up, exit the shuttle, and split into teams. Webbs and Shark hack the external control panel, while Snake and Piranha open the main power grid. Each second counts. Cat watches from above, pulling in more and more gold. But the gang manages to reroute the system just in time. Wolf breaks into the core chamber, as Piranha suddenly loses control, spinning wildly through the air with Snake. Cat spots them. "Impossible," she mutters. Then chaos erupts as the MacGuffinite drags mountains of gold into orbit, turning Earth below into total panic. But then Cat is shocked. Wolf is already inside the control unit. He tells her to shut it down. A fierce fight breaks out between them. Cat manages to reach the control device and smashes it. But Wolf just smiles and shows her Moon's stolen watch. She laughs. "That watch controls the rocket, not the magnet." Wolf twists the dial anyway. The rocket spins off course, and all the gold crashes back into the station, forming a massive block. With no time to think, Wolf rams the rocket straight into the gold, causing a huge explosion that sends every piece of gold raining down to Earth. Cat lunges at him in rage, but Diane appears out of nowhere, saves Wolf, and knocks Cat out cold. Wolf holds Diane tight, and for a moment, everyone celebrates. But then the alarms start blaring. The control system is destroyed. The rocket is falling, straight toward Earth. Wolf looks at his friends. If we die heroes. Moments later, the police hold a press conference, mourning the gang's death and honoring their sacrifice. Everyone watching cries. The world has lost its greatest outlaws. But then comes the twist. Cat, Pigtail, and Doom are arrested. And after the cameras fade, the police chief walks into her office, where the gang is waiting, alive and smiling. She tells them quietly, "I had to fake your deaths, to keep you out of prison." Then she adds with a grin, "Welcome to your new job." Secret agents. The gang cheers, realizing they've just found a new purpose. And with that, the story of the Bad Guys 2 comes to a close.